A family has spoken of its total devastation after the death of a beloved son at the age of only 14 months. After a difficult pregnancy, in which parents Callan and James were warned that their baby might need to be delivered early, Henry Brett was born full-term and healthy in April 2020. The family, from Ipswich, quickly settled into their life together, with Henry's older brother Theodore, aged 4, doting on the new addition. Callan said, "Henry adored Theodore, and Theodore adored him. They would laugh and play all the time. But when Henry was just 5 months old he began crying regularly and displaying a fever, with a few small lumps appearing on his head." Callan took Henry to A&E along with his grandmother Sally, a nurse with 35 years' experience, who told the hospital that they would not be leaving until Henry had been given a blood test. It was this test that revealed the devastating truth that Henry had acute myeloid leukemia, an aggressive form of blood cancer. "The only way I can describe it is total devastation," Callan recalled. "All I could feel was sheer panic. Later, I felt such guilt as well. If he'd been my first child, I might have worried sooner, but because he was my second, and because he was such a happy baby, I was more relaxed. I just felt so guilty." Henry was admitted to Addenbrooke's Children's Hospital in Cambridge that same night, with a Hickman line to administer chemotherapy fitted in the early hours. He would go on to spend months in hospital enduring 4 rounds of brutal chemotherapy. Due to COVID restrictions, Callan and James were only allowed to be with Henry individually. Callan said, "The risk of infection was so huge that we only managed to all be together 3 times, from the moment Henry was diagnosed until the day he died." Christmas 2020 was one of the last times we were able to bring Henry home, and Theodore was so excited, sharing everything with him. Henry sat on his granddad's lap and ate chocolate biscuits most of the day. His auntie would carry him around any chance she could. Everyone just doted on him. On Boxing Day, however, Henry was a completely different child, appearing very unwell. He was then taken to Great Ormond Street Hospital in London. In May 2021, Henry took a turn for the worse. He was intubated to keep him breathing, said Callan. His little body was just covered in wires. They took him for an emergency CT scan and we couldn't go with him. Then they moved us all to PICU and I lay in bed with him that night, where he had a seizure. His brain was full of abscesses and he was in pain. He developed a rash that eventually joined up all over his body and his skin began to peel. Towards the end, he had diarrhea and started vomiting blood. It was brutal. And it was so unfair. There was nothing more that they could do. Callan and James decided to bring Henry back home to see Theodore one last time. "He stayed alive for 56 hours, said Callan. "It was the longest weekend of my life. I can barely remember it. I didn't sleep, I just wanted to look at him." Theodore came in and spoke to him about Minecraft. Then he just let go. 6 months after Henry's death, Callan retrained as a healthcare assistant, hoping to help support other families dealing with illness. She is also sharing Henry's story in support of a new project set up by Leukemia UK and Worldwide Cancer Research to create kinder and more effective treatments for infant leukemia. Research lead Professor Katrin Ottersbach, from the University of Edinburgh, explained, "The treatment of infant leukemia has not improved for decades. This research will allow us to investigate what makes blood cancer in infants unique, and how we can treat it more efficiently." Callen added, "My baby cannot have died for no reason. His death has to mean something. If I have to live the entire rest of my life without him, then there has to be progress in that time. We cannot have lost him for no reason, and we cannot stand by knowing that more research could spare another family from his type of heartbreak." Common symptoms of acute myeloid leukemia include looking pale or washed out, feeling tired or weak, breathlessness, frequent infections, unusual and frequent bruising or bleeding, such as bleeding gums or nosebleeds, losing weight without trying to,